expecting like it to be a clean sweep.
Wins.
If asbur plays, asbur wins.
Yeah.
So you think the Boomkin is gonna win?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
All right. You think asbur is gonna win, really?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just because you're a little biased because you're a Boomkin yourself, or is that because you believe in him?
I believe in the heart of the cards.
There it is. All right, the invites have gone out. The very first match of this best of 5, or the very first map, I should say, of this best of 5 is going to be on the Grand Arena. We're going to jump into it very, very shortly here. There's the queue. It has popped. I'll see you guys in there. Okay, I gotta be honest with you, but I asked them and they told me, but I didn't want to break your heart. I wanted them to break your heart. So
asbur not playing, asbur not gonna win.
asbur not playing. So it's a god comp of the Paladin versus an RMD.
Is it? I mean, I know traditionally RMD is really good against god comp, but I think Paladin kind of mixes it up a bit. They're gonna have disarm Hodge for Jahmilli every time. They can deep freeze sheep Danny carry. So I think Jahmilli will be the target of choice this game, and he's actually going to be in trouble. He gets Hodge disarmed, his feint's going to fall, and he's very susceptible to burst. So I think the Paladin is actually better than the Resto Druid in this situation.
Yeah. I have no idea, man, but I'm really excited to see these two teams play. So it's the god comp with felorea on the Holy Paladin versus the RMD and Danny carry as a sub-in. And, oh man, the Garo... Oh, sorry, I'll let you guys go.
Yeah, Garo and mageiden swapping back to CMG. Throws the silence on the Piecez. Hpal onto that as well. It's going to get dispelled by Danny. Kidney shot blind, though, onto felorea. CMG taking a bit of damage. The Frozen Orb finally coming out, but he's not going to be able to sap it, I don't believe. He's trying to get it. He's going to manage to sneak it through. Hpal onto mageiden. CMG completely alone. He's trying to stack on felorea, so the Ice Nova will break the sap, but now into the half poly. He's not going to be breaking it. Maybe a deep freeze potentially out of that as well, and still at 40%, but there's the swap onto Jahmilli. There's the fist out of the Horrify. No feint, like you were saying.
No
Ice Nova.
Yeah, he
Connects. He's dead.
Exactly what I said. Jahmilli,
wow.
He trinketed that first fear, and it just makes him super susceptible to a swap like that, and he just immediately dies.
That was incredible. I want to take a quick look at that replay. So keep an eye on Jahmilli. Oh, actually, this is a different thing. Hold on. Here we go. There you go. Now watch Jahmilli. Jahmilli's at full health here. He goes into that Horrify, into the full Hodge, and he has no trinket, and just he gets so much damage, and there he goes. He goes down. That God Comp swamp potential with that Hammer of Justice, the Hodge, is so deadly. And the very first map of this best of 5 series is gonna go to xaryu. Whoa. That's intense. I wasn't expecting that. But you had faith in that, in the god comp of the Holy Paladin.
Yeah, I just don't think it's nearly as easy for the RMD to score a kill. He trinketed the first fear. He opened up on CMG, and he trinketed a fear to get a blind on felorea.
I don't think we're going to see that again. I don't think we're going to see him trinket.
Yeah, he'll play a little bit more conservatively for sure, but I still think that every time they do that, it's going to be scary for him. Like, they have a lot of burst potential, and they have a lot of cross CC with the disarm Hodge under Jahmilli and the deep sheeps on the Danny carry. And if they're able to consistently get that off, it's going to be a nightmare for Jahmilli to survive.
Yep, so the next map chosen by the boys are back is Tolvaron Arena. Alright, here we go. It is Shadow Priest. It's a God Comp of the Holy Paladin versus RMD. The boys are back. Did get a replacement Restoration Druid at the last minute. It is Danny carry, the one and only. This is a good series, but I feel like it's going to be a good series. With that first game, I hope that this RMD doesn't go on tilt.
Yeah, subbing a player in and then losing a game like that, you got to imagine there's this little bit of rage. Somebody's got to be mad. There's no
I
way
don't
that
I
somebody's
don't
not
think
mad.
so. I think
You
this
don't think
team is
so?
a group of very collective players, so
Yeah, I think
be
somebody's
opinions.
mad. We'll have to find out though if Jahmilli is going to play as reckless as he did last game. Mine's here coming out to try and pull someone out. Pet Nova connects onto Mage, and it means that he can't get a sap onto anyone now. He's going to have to pick his target carefully. Garrod onto CMG, a clone onto Mage, and Deep Freeze onto Felorea. The Polymorph follow up the Kidney to stop the Master Spell. CMG trinkets immediately and goes into the guys. Danny Carey managed to pre-bear form the Deep Freeze, but he's going to get Ring of Frosted up by mageiden. Felorea finally coming out of the Polymorph into another DR Polymorph. Jahmilli with the Adrenaline Rush rolling on the mageiden, or on CMG as well, taking a bit of damage here. The Icicles building up for Piecez, slowly going for some more polys now. Clone onto mageiden. He did get locked out twice there, but Jahmilli's just trying to get a re-stealth, play defensively. He's a little bit worried because he did trinket again.
Yeah, he did the
so he
same
doesn't
thing,
have it.
triggered that opener. It's going to
Yeah.
be scary. The next time he gets caught in that CC, it's going to be Danny Carey's trinket, almost certainly. So we'll see. Danny Carey caught into the deep freeze. Here they're going to go onto Jahmilli, I think, if they can, but Jahmilli vanishes and opens up on a CMG. Well done by him playing defensively. They're going to switch it over on a CMG, caught into that full kidney. Meanwhile, Felorea caught into the sheep. He was able to freedom that, so it's going to be a little bit shorter on himself. mageiden caught into the bash. This RMD doing an excellent job of cross-CCing while they're going offensive here, and they weren't actually able to force anything out of CMG there. The blind comes out onto Felorea by Jahmilli. He is just going to go ahead and pop that so he can keep CMG topped off, and yeah, looks like CMG will hopefully be okay for now, but the Save by the Light procs, Powered Shield comes out. Danny Carey caught into the full ring right now. Jahmilli has that feint up, he's just spamming it over and over, and they weren't really able to get much there with the full ring on Danny Carey.
Yeah, he locks Felorea out on the Denounce, but he still has the Avenging Wrath. CMG should be fine. He's still sitting on Dispersion. Felorea still has one more bop, a bubble, and his trinket. Double Fear lands. Ice Nova comes out onto Jahmilli, but without CC, he's going to be able to get the cloak off if he needs to, and he's keeping Feint up much more often. Kidney Shot onto CMG. Mark for Death. Double Abyss connects. Garrod onto mageiden to stop the Polymorph. Good awareness by Jahmilli to stop that, but the Polymorph is going to connect here onto Piecez. Gets dispelled by Danny Carey. Throws the 3 Trents out. mageiden now into a Polymorph. Piecez trying to deny the Polymorph in the future here onto Danny Carey. Danny Carey Displacer BC in, gets the clone onto mageiden, Deep Freeze onto Felorea. mageiden choosing to block out of that. Deep Freeze onto Danny Carey though. The Ring of Frost gets locked out by Piecez though, and throwing a Polymorph out to deny, but Jahmilli into the Hodge at half HP, has the Iron Bark up. Comet Storm is going to connect there. Polymorph onto Piecez, Fear onto Jahmilli. The Feint's going to fall off if they can get any hard CC out of that, but Fist isn't up for about 17 seconds, so Jahmilli should be fine until then.
Yeah, I think when they do that swap, actually the killing spree coming out of Jahmilli on a CMG, taking so much damage, down to 24%, Save by the Light procs. Felorea spamming out those heals, though. It does get caught into that Frost Draw. Beautiful CC by Piecez. The Deep Freeze coming out of that Frost Draw, and he does get locked out on that Polymorph, so well done by mageiden there, counterspelling that Polymorph on Piecez, stopping Felorea, entering any more CC, and Felorea's just going to pop those wings for the additional healing and be able to top CMG off.
Yeah, it seems like they're swapping to Danny Carey. He's going to Bark Skin the swap immediately, going for Cyclone, even back into bear form, wants to make sure he has as much HP as he can, going for a clone out of that Polymorph. Mageiden's going to trinket that right away. And they have forced one block right now in the trinket from mageiden, but the kidney onto CMG, they're just going to be tunneling him into the ground. Felorea still with the Avenging Wrath, should be able to heal through the Mark for Death. Double Abyss, mageiden now building up some icicles as he did get locked on the Polymorph. A clone onto Felorea now. They need some more CC to pressure. There's the disarm onto Jahmilli, though. Fist out of that. He's going to trinket immediately and get the feint up at 64%. Danny Carey coming out of the Deep Freeze, trying to go for a clone, going to land on a mageiden, unless he chooses to block out of that, which means he'll be out of blocks. I think he's going to be sitting through it wisely. Double Fear onto Jahmilli and Piecez. Piecez going to trinket to get the Deep Freeze onto Felorea, going for the Polymorph. He gets locked out on the Polymorph. Kidney onto CMG nonetheless. A poly onto Jahmilli to try and deny the damage on that kidney shot. Now full blind onto Felorea. He's trying to sit through it. He still has a bop for it, and he still has his trinket and bubble. I feel like it's very greedy to sit through that. Now into the full poly. Killing spree coming out. Going to force the dispersion and the bubble on top of it now at 35% HP with mageiden into a clone, so a lot of cooldowns overlapped at once right there from a greedy play from Felorea.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, and because of that, CMG is going to be in a lot of trouble. I mean, Felorea still has one bop and a trinket available. He's caught into the Deep Freeze right now. mageiden using his second block to try to do anything he can to keep CMG alive. Clone comes out from Danny Carey onto Felorea, but they're trying to turn around on Jahmilli. He is caught into that full disarm Hodge, the Iron Bark coming out from Danny Carey, who uses his trinket. And now both Danny Carey and Jahmilli don't have trinket, and he is going to get caught into that fear, and Jahmilli will just die. Unbelievable.
So close and yet so far.
So, I'm not sure if I can nab that replay. Let's see if I can. So here we are, Jahmilli currently in his cloak at full health, so he's okay for now. CMG puts the Horrify onto Jahmilli. That's the ring onto Danny Carey into the silence because he did trinket. He has Iron Bark, but it's just not enough in that full Hodge inside this orb, and he just goes down. That Hodge, man, that just makes this comp so scary.
Yeah.
Holy.
It's a lot of utility coming out of a Holy Pally. Just the it's such a long stun. I believe it's a 6-second stun that Fist of Justice is, and it's only on
it. He died from 80%
30%
with Iron Bark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Holy crow. So it is currently 2-0 for xaryu, and this is hard. So he's still deciding on a map. So the rules do state that there isn't map replays until 5 out of 6 maps have been played. So we have currently only tried 2. And he's trying to decide on the next map as he can't play Nagrand or Tolvaron again. So the next map choice coming out from the boys are back are going to be on... Oh man, on Tiger Speak.
The only arena with snow.
The only arena with snow. I hate snow. Alright, let's go into it.
Canadian arena.
I love it. I woke up this morning and instead of it snowing, it rained, and a little tear came down my face.
Oh, no.
It's moving closer and closer to summer.
I think I have like 4 inches of snow coming my way today.
It snows more in America than it does in Canada, at least on the West Coast.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like where I live, the first day of spring, where everyone was like, yeah, it's the first day of spring, it was 5 inches on the ground. It was like a winter wonderland. It looked like the generic, like, Christmas area. So weird. I don't know. But this is Tiger's Peak. This is chosen by the boys are back. But I mean, like, they're running out of their favorable maps, you know? Not that map is the biggest deal when looking at these two matchups, but I don't know. This team's got to change something up when it comes to, I feel like they get a lot of offensive pressure, but those Hodge swaps, they are so deadly.
Yeah. I think if they do it right, it's going to be a Jahmilli or Danny Carey's trinket every time, unless Piecez can get some major CC out. I think when they go for...
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, Piecez was playing really well earlier on in the game, and it kind of just fell apart. Danny Carey got CC'd too much. And that's kind of where Jahmilli got left alone. So as long as Piecez and Danny play well together here as a team, polymorph onto felorea, CMG trinketing the early kidney shot once again like last game to try and avoid the damage here. Silence onto Piecez to deny the polymorph out of that. Going for the frost jaw now. That's going to be 3 seconds of silence. He's not going to aura mastery out of that just yet. Polymorph onto Piecez, defreeze onto Danny. He did pre-bear form it, but the ring of frost is going to land nonetheless. Piecez now going for polymorphs, but there's the swap onto Jahmilli. Horrify into the fist of justice. He has the feint for a few more seconds. He does get dispelled at the end of the fist there, so he should be alright. He can activate the cloak if he needs to, but they did a good job living that.
Danny Carey got locked, and Jahmilli's still not out of the woods, having to use that Cloak of Shadows. Beautiful CS by mageiden there. CMG taking a lot of damage though, down to 23%. That Saved by the Light proccing. Felorea popping those wings to desperately try to get him up. He has caught into that clone. Disperse coming out. Felorea still has his bubble and trinket available, but the offensive clone coming out by Danny Carey onto CMG at 14% HP. Puts it over to Felorea. He has to bubble and he just dies instantly. Danny Carey going crazy with the clones there, securing that kill on CMG.
Wow.
Well done by him.
Just a testament of how much, what can happen, how much control this team has, and this sub-in, I think he's starting to gain some synergy with these players. Let's take a quick look at that replay. Now keep an eye. Look at Jahmilli is forced to use that cloak because he's getting really, really low, but CMG, he's so low. The Aura Mastery comes out from Felorea, but he goes into that full clone. This is the killing spree. It forces the dispersion, but that Cyclone on the dispersion is so key. He comes out of that Cyclone and goes onto Felorea. He bubbles it, but it's just not enough. He's too low a health, and boys are back are going to secure that kill, and now it is 2-1. Oh my gosh, that was intense.
Boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
Boys are back in town. So now, I'm going to go ahead and ask this team. I'll give you 4 inches of snow. What does that even mean, Lyrics?
What does that even mean?
I think he's flirting with me. Alright, let's see here. So, the next map chosen by, xaryu is going to be Dalaran Sewers. Alright, I'll see you guys in there. All right, it's Dalaran Sewers, but this is a best of 5 series. So if I'm sorry xaryu wins one more time, they will knock the boys are back into the bronze into the bronze match.
Mageiden stole xaryu's transmog.
Are you serious?
Pretty sure. No. Is that Mitch's transmog?
Oh, I don't
know
even
if
know.
it's Mitch's or if it's xaryu's.
I think Mitch uses that Time Lord set, but
It was Mitch. I thought it was ironic that I'm sorry, Xaryu, when he has his transmog. I don't think it actually is, though.
Xaryu uses like that Battle Mage set that has the pants.
Pants mage.
He's a pants mage.
He's a pants mage.
Not a robe kind of guy.
Yeah.
I love bathrobes. They're so comfortable. Why would you not want to wear a robe in WoW? Oh, man. The double Garrote coming out. CMG trinketing the early kidney again. Silencing Piecez is poly onto felorea. The sack comes out. Piecez now into a clone. The double fear lands. Ring of Frost coming out onto Danny Carey. That's going to land. Fist of Justice onto a Jahmilli. He's got dispelled out of it, luckily, there from the trinket of Danny Carey, and got the Iron Bark up. He's not going to be dying from 80% this game. Just yet, at least. Clone onto Mageiden. Deep freeze onto felorea. He did get locked out before it. Kidney now onto CMG. The full poly lands. He's not going to be able to MD. felorea did sack it, though, apparently, and it's going to break. He's going for the rebuff now. The clone onto CMG, realizing that their offensive push is kind of botched from the sack. The RMD is going to have to wait and bide their time and get that polymorph. But the double fear lands. Danny Carey camping bare for him to try and avoid Mageiden's polys. He's very relentless. Piecez now throwing out some polys to deny Mageiden's position. Now a trick poly onto felorea, which lands full. Deep freeze onto Danny. Common coming down. They're swapping to Danny. He's going to activate the Barkskin. They baited that, though. They didn't Devouring Plague or anything, so they could swap to him later.
Yeah, that was, I mean, Danny Carey's going to be in a lot of trouble here. I mean, he has no Trinket and no Barskin. That was kind of a waste. Mageiden just using one Comet Storm on his Deep Freeze, and he Barskin that. I guess he was really afraid. But it's going to spell trouble for him. If they can land like a Disarm Hodge on him, it'll be a nightmare, unless Piecez and Jahmilli can go insane peeling for him. And I think that's why he's just sitting back. He knows he kind of made a mistake, and now he's just sitting behind the pillar 900 miles away.
I think this is the push. They're coming in hot on the Danny Carey. The Deep Freeze lands down here. Frozen Orb comes out. Shadow Fiend, everything. Comet Storm into the Disarm. This could be it for Danny. 30%. Fist of Justice follow-up. He needs to get the Hodge, though. He's not going to get it in time. And it's going to be DR'd, unfortunately, at 49%. Danny Carey blinks away, saving himself for now. Still getting Ice Lanced at 40%, but the Smoke Bomb onto CMG. The Adrenaline Rush coming out from Jahmilli now. Comet Storm coming down from Piecez. Mageiden getting locked out on the Polymorph, though. And Jahmilli's building that red buff to try and counter pressure onto CMG here shortly.
Yep, and Danny Carey caught into that full fear. Jahmilli choosing to pop that Cloak of Shadows. They're not going to be able to get much damage out onto him. But Danny Carey now into the full Sheep Disarm coming out on Jahmilli, and he could just get caught into this Hodge. He does have Trinket available for the Hodge, going to immediately Trinket that, but the CC is not stopping on Danny Carey. The Killing Spree comes out, trying to counter pressure CMG. He's going to dip down to around 25%. Both Jahmilli and CMG so low. CMG caught into that dispersed. felorea also having to pop his bubble. He just still has Trinket for the next CC chain, but that was a lot of cooldowns there coming out from this God comp.
Yeah, we saw the same situation last time, but Jahmilli got caught out with no Trinket, and he doesn't have Trinket again, so it's a possibility. Danny Carey, though, has his now, throwing some clones onto Mageiden. CMG and felorea playing very far back to try and mitigate the CC and push out when Fear comes up, I would assume, which might happen here shortly. Mageiden into the the Frost Nova there, and now the Kidney Shot onto CMG, swapping to him. A lot of damage coming in, but felorea pre-sacrifices the poly once again. Danny Carey into the Deep Freeze, going for the ring. The ring's going to land, but he got the Iron Bark preemptively onto Jahmilli, but is this a repeat? 60% to O again? It doesn't seem like the damage is there. Devouring Plague connects. The Fist is going to fade. He should be able to get the Cloak. He gets the Cloak off in time. Not going to be dying on that swap, and now is the situation where they can capitalize on no bubble, no Trinket, and no Dispersion for a minute, but they need to get Jahmilli topped, and Danny Carey's struggling. The NS comes out, 50% HP. The Vigil comes out. Jahmilli trying to get a re-stealth and play back here defensively, but he's not going to be able to get it. Danny Carey gets deeped up on his clone. Mageiden trying to go for a poly, gets locked out and gouged. Not going to be able to land the CC on this offensive push, but there's the full poly onto felorea. It's going to get MD'd by CMG, though, so good awareness by him to get him out instantly. Save his Trinket for his CC down the road.
Jahmilli mounts up and runs in, trying to connect onto a CMG, but he's doing an excellent job just sitting back with felorea, and Jahmilli choosing to switch over to onto Mageiden, try to build up that red buff as fast as he can, so he will have that killing spree. Mageiden caught into the kidney right now, taking a little bit of damage with felorea, not really in any CC. The Deep Freeze comes out by Piecez, CMG silencing that, so he's not going to be able to get any follow-up with that Deep Freeze. Well done by him to try to stop that CC. Jahmilli caught into the full disarm. Deep freeze coming out onto Danny Carey. Jahmilli caught into the Hodge. He could just go down here. 36%, 20%, taking so much damage. Danny Carey able to get that Iron Bark out and the NS onto Jahmilli, so he should be able to live, I hope. But Danny Carey still not out of the CC. Caught into that full polymorph. He does have Trinket available, but I guess he thinks the Iron Bark and Feint will be enough to keep him alive. Jahmilli using that cloak defensively, and Danny Carey's still not out of CC yet. I mean, the silence comes out. It's unbelievable. Should hopefully be able to top Jahmilli here.
Yeah, he doesn't have any big healing mechanics, no Iron Bark and no NS, and there's the Fist of Justice onto Jahmilli. He might end up going down into the death range. Ice Nova connects. The Kidney comes out, though, onto CMG, and the Smoke Bomb as well, 40%. No, and he's going to disperse immediately at 40%. Try and save Feloria's Trinket for CC later, but he comes out of the dispersion now. Frozen Orb comes out. He Power Word Shield, saved by the Light Proc. Defreeze onto Felorea. They're trying to cut through it. Feloria trinkets and uses the Bop onto CMG. Now a full poly onto Danny, which he's going to Trinket immediately to get Jahmilli topped. He doesn't have Cloak. He doesn't have Trinket, but now the RMD is on the back foot. Both these teams are going to be a little bit cautious to push in, though. Look at this Trinket situation from every player.
Yeah, not a single person has Trinket right now, so CMG is able to get a big fear on them. They can maybe set up off that, but it's going to be scary for him to push up and get anything like that, because he is the target of choice, so he wants to make sure he's playing nice and safe. But as I say that, he runs in, trying to get a fear on a Danny Carey, but Danny Carey just sitting a million miles away. The fear comes out onto Piecez, and Jahmilli. Looks like they're going to try to line up on Jahmilli. He immediately Cloak of Shadows, trying to get pressure out onto Mageiden right now. The Orb of Piecez comes out.
Yeah, Jahmilli's just trying to delay, though, for his Trinket, I think. That's why the clones are getting thrown onto Mageiden now, the Kidney onto CMG. Feloria pre-sacks the defreeze, though. They need to make sure they spell steal that off before they go for the poly. It doesn't seem like they're going to be able to. Piecez is tapped on mana. He goes for a poly on Mageiden instead. Going to wait for the sacrifice to expire. Frostjaw onto CMG. Poly onto Danny Carey, though. Jahmilli into the disarm. He's line of sighting back here to try and avoid the Fist of Justice, but you cannot run from the law forever, Jahmilli. Into the Fist of Justice. Silence onto Danny Carey. Devouring Plague comes up. Ice Nova connects. NS comes out from Danny with the Iron Bark. He's shredding through it, though. 20%, 37%. Danny Carey struggling, but the Kidney onto CMG. Finally going to stop the damage. Feloria with another sacrifice, though, delaying Piecez polymorphs even further. He's not going to be able to spell steal. He's completely tapped on mana. CMG being pressured. Feloria pops the Avenging Wrath to mitigate all the damage coming out, but Jahmilli's killing spree is going to be off cooldown. He's building that red buff. No dispersion for 10 seconds. The killing spree comes out. 30%. Saved by the Light Procs immediately on the blind by the deep freeze onto Feloria. Vampiric Embrace. Silence coming out onto Piecez, but he could just end up going down. 20%. The disarm at 20% onto Jahmilli. Now into the full Fist of Justice, trying to turn it around, but he trinkets immediately, gets the Eviscerate. It's not going to crit big. CMG getting locked out on VT, but a very scary situation right now for CMG. Trinkets the Kidney, immediately getting the Power Shield and line of sighting with the Feathers. Jahmilli connects once again, though. Feloria just coming out of a clone. Comet Storm going to come in. Garrote smacks onto CMG, and Feloria somehow, some way is keeping CMG alive.
And Feloria actually caught into the full sheep right now. He's going to immediately trinket that. DR Deep Freeze coming out by Piecez into the triple DR polymorph. CMG trying to get the MD out, but Floria's not going to be caught in any more CC, and here it goes. They're going to try to turn around on Jahmilli with the disarm on him. Can they get the fists out? Here comes the Fist of Justice, the deep freeze on Danny Carey. Jahmilli does not have a trinket. Danny Carey might have to trinket if a polymorph comes in, but it doesn't look like it's going to. Piecez actually CSing Mageiden right there, so well done by him. They're turning around on CMG down to around 30%, taking so much damage. Floria having to pop that bubble, but will it be enough? Could go down to 9%. Big heals coming out of Feloria here, and Jahmilli still not out of the woods, taking damage. Danny Carey caught into that ring right now, using that smoke bomb both offensively and defensively. Well done by him. Feloria has those wings up, and he should be able to top CMG off. Jahmilli forced into that cloak, gets Hodge out of that cloak. Danny Carey into the silence, is able to get the Iron Bark and some hots off, and is able to spell him as well. So Jahmilli should be fine for now, but Feloria caught into the full sheep. CMG gets interrupted on that MD. He's down to around 30%. Feloria has nothing. They can follow up this polymorph on him. It could spell the end. The full kidney comes out onto CMG, defreeze onto Feloria. This killing spree comes out from Jahmilli. The sack comes out, but it's not going to be enough. Down to around 5%, and he just dies. Yeah.
Wow. Holy crap.
Caught into that infinite RMD CC chain.
Yeah, so we are at 23% dampening right now, and it is now 2-2. The boys are back. It is the match point the next map is going to determine who goes to the finals. Let's take a quick look at that replay. CMG just taking so much damage. They got into that defensive position, and felorea's CC chain just never ended. The Horrifies go out on Jahmilli, just trying to prevent that damage, but that's the killing spree on the kidney. felorea, you just can't keep him up through all that DR'd CC, and CMG is going to end up going down at 22% dampening. But wow, what an amazing game from these players. And the next map is what I'm excited about.
What is the last map? Ruins?
To be determined.
Oh,
It's their choice. But it is going to determine who goes to the finals.
I think a map like Ruins might be good for them. It'll allow them to I mean, Jahmilli will always be susceptible to those swaps. It looks like he has a target of choice all game, and on a map like Ruins, there's really nowhere he can run. So
that's the test right there.
I'll be interested to see if that's the map they choose.
Jahmilli escapes the law that game narrowly. The Fist of Justice is not enough to pin him down. The slippery rogue that he is.
Alright, so the next map choice coming out from I'm sorry, xaryu is going to be... Thank you, Hannah, I appreciate that. Is going to be Ruins of Lordaeron. Hannah's always got my back, man. I'm trying to think in my head, what maps have we played that I can prevent them from replaying, but she got me. So the next map, guys, is indeed going to be Ruins of Lordaeron. Alright. Wait, before I do that, turn that off. There we go. Alright. Ruins of Lordaeron. So, I don't know. I felt like both teams kind of utilized the pillar and got their position and their cooldowns back. But now in Ruins of Lordaeron, they don't really have that much of a luxury. Is that who takes more advantage from this map?
Danny can't run anywhere on this map. Like that one swap that got his skin with only Comet Storm, like if he wasn't down below out of line of sight of the Fist, he might have got killed in that double stun Horrify combo with a silence out of it. So mageiden and CMG might decide to go on to him as the target. If Jahmilli plays a lot more conservative and sits all the fears and stuff like that, they can swap to Danny while he's sitting the CC. So it might be a little bit of a mind game here from the godcomp, but early Garrote onto mageiden, deep freeze onto felorea, Piecez goes for the polymorph. Gonna land it. It's gonna be reduced from the freedom though, so luckily for felorea he got that up. It's gonna get him out of that polymorph a little bit quicker now. The Garrote onto CMG did get kicked on the master spell on that polymorph, so good lockout on that. The polymorph's just being spammed out from Piecez right now. Full blind onto felorea, Comet Storm comes down onto the kidney shot of CMG, gets topped off immediately by felorea, bopping himself out of the blind, using the Avenging Rat to try and keep him alive through all of this pressure early on. But there's the Fist of Justice onto Jahmilli. Trinket Cloak comes out at 20%. He's going to escape death narrowly. 40% on CMG. felorea trying to keep him up and fakes from the interrupts. He throws the sacrifice out, but the polymorph got locked out, so the sacrifice a bit wasted. Jahmilli still getting pressured. The Vanish comes out to try and Garrote CMG. The Frost Jaw onto mageiden. He's going to cold snap and try and actually use an ice block to get out of CC there to get the polymorph here onto Danny Carey, which is going to land full. He's choosing not to trinket. The killing spree coming out from Jahmilli with the full poly onto felorea. CMG at 50% HP. He might have to disperse here. He's going to answer it with the save by the light proc, but it's going to keep him alive for now.
Yeah, the stack coming out by felorea on a CMG as well. He should be able to top him off here. The Ward of Glory's coming out, but it's going to be hard for Jahmilli to avoid these CC chains. He gets caught into the Sarm, into the Hodge, but Danny Carey is able to dispel it. So Jahmilli will be able to get up that feint and be able to tank that damage a little bit better. Meanwhile, CMG caught into the full kidney, taking the brunt end of the damage right now. felorea not in any CC just yet. mageiden getting interrupted on that Frost by Piecez, trying to stop out as much damage as he can. felorea caught into the full sheep now. CMG gets locked on his MD immediately by Jahmilli, and out of the polymorph, felorea will be deep freezed. But Piecez in a lot of trouble right now, down to around 30% HP. Jahmilli caught into that sheep. No CC on Danny Carey right now. The Iron Bark comes out from Danny Carey onto Piecez, and he will be able to top him, but that was a nice swap by them.
Yeah, and Piecez only has one block. He used one of his blocks offensively, so trying to capitalize on one of these mages playing too aggressively. Mageiden right now has no blocks. If the RMD can set up on him, they might be able to kill him. Felorea into the polymorph. They're just sticking on a CMG. He doesn't have his dispersion. 40% HP. Deep freeze onto Felorea. He might have to bubble it. 30% saved by the light procs. Another DR'd polymorph. He's trying to sit through it with the freedoms. Mageiden spamming the polymorphs onto the DPS. But here's the swap onto Danny. He pre-bear forms. He gets the bark skin up, but they baited the bark skin again without using Devouring Plague. And on Runes of Lorna, he's not going to be able to escape, but in the meantime, CMG at 50%, bubble out from Felorea, is it enough? Power Word Shield comes out, he gets cloned, low HP, and when that bubble fades, they're going to be able to crowd control him, I would assume, here shortly, and they need to. There's the bash follow-up, CMG completely alone, he throws the fear onto Jahmilli and Danny, trying to keep himself alive, he goes for the Master Spell, but he's not going to be able to get it off. 16% into the growth, Felorea with the clutch bop at 16%, Mageiden with the polymorph spam onto Piecez to try and deny the spell steal, but he goes into the full clone, the bop ends, 19%, 20%, but horrifying to Danny! No trigger, no skin, into the silence, overlap with the deep at 50%, Colin Storm comes in! Fist of Justice, DR almost into the shadow with Death Rage, 20%, 16, the Iron Bark, and that's not enough! Danny goes down, but CMG with the cross kill!
This is going to be a nightmare for Piecez and Jahmilli, though. Mageiden playing Holy Paladin Mage with Felorea here. It's going to be so hard for them to get a kill. Jahmilli caught into that full sheep, and it looks like Piecez will be the main target. And this, like I said, is sort of a hopeless matchup from what I understand. It's going to be hard for them to really get anything going playing Rogue Mage against Mage Healer. Mages and Paladins both being inherently tanky. But Felorea caught into that full sheep, and it looks like they're going to try and pressure Mageiden the best they can, but Piecez down to around 30%. Has to use that first ice block. Jahmilli has no trinket into the full Hodge. He's just going to get re-sheeped, and this is just going to be a slow death unless Piecez and Jahmilli can pull out some sort of miracle.
Yeah, Piecez is going to try and get a drink here in the room, I would assume, and he's sitting down, but Felorea is right on his tail. He's not going to get any drinks off. The execution sentence coming offensively onto Piecez. Felorea taking it personal, trying to take him down here into the deep freeze, but that's going to be it. The Ice Lance connects. An amazing series between the boys are back and I am sorry, Xaryu.
Wow. Holy. Ruins of Lordaeron. What a cross kill. So that means I'm sorry, xaryu is going to go to the finals, and the boys are back. Are going to the bronze match. Let's take a quick look at that replay. As CMG, he's just taking so much pressure. He's so low. But Danny Carey, he's in that horrified. The Devouring Plague, the Orb, the Deep Freeze, everything's coming out onto Danny Carey. They're putting all the pressure on him into the DR Hodge, but at the same time, CMG is taking so much damage. Danny Carey puts the Iron Bark on him, but it's just not enough. CMG at the same time ends up going down, and the cross kill ends up going into the favor